background to it. This is the second of Jesus' I am statements, and he makes the declaration twice, so it's got to be important. It's recorded in John's chapter 8 and 9. First of all, why I am. Let me read the verses that are in Exodus 3, 13, 14. Moses said to God, Moses has met with God at the burning bush. The bush wasn't, it was on fire, but it wasn't in any way being depleted. So there was something different. Moses went to investigate, and God spoke to him. And he said, Moses had actually was being given the commission by God to go back to the Israelites and actually talk to them about the deliverance. And Moses is questioning God. He says, suppose I go to the Israelites and they say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, what is your name? What shall I say to them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. So the Jewish people, the nation of Israel, would have been very familiar with the term I am. Let's just have a look at some of the other biblical passages that actually summarize the importance. Just trying to change. Can we do it, Bart? Lovely. Yeah. Light is so important, connection with Jesus. So let's just go back to the creation story in Genesis 1, 1-3. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. Moving on to John chapter 1, 1-5. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word is Jesus. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. And then a verse in Isaiah, which we tend to hear perhaps more often at Christmas, one of the many Old Testament prophecies that was fulfilled by Jesus. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. Jesus was present and involved in creation, bringing light out of darkness. He's the one that brings life in all of its fullness. So let's look at the first time that John made the statement. John 8, verse 12. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but have the light of life. Now, I think it's really important, before we come onto that in detail, that we just have a little bit more background to the setting of it. This statement was actually made during one of the Jewish holidays called the Feast of Tabernacles, or booths. Called booths. Another name for them is tents. And everybody, all those people who could gather together would meet at Jerusalem, and they would live in temporary tents for the duration of that festival, which was 8 days long. It took place as a remembrance of God's deliverance from the nation of Israel, from Egypt, and then the 40 years of wandering through the wilderness, where God, through the daytime, led them by a pillar of cloud, and through night by a pillar of light, and then into deliverance into the promised land. So that's what they were celebrating. They were celebrating and remembering that, and there would have been great joy at that remembrance. This is a new fact that I didn't know until I'd researched it, maybe familiar with some of you. But a highlight of the festival involved 4 candelabras that were 75 feet tall. If you get a bus and stand it on end and then another bus on top, that's 75 feet high. And then on each of the candelabras there were 4 bowls, giant bowls. And some of the, I don't know whether they were foolish or strong or what, but young boys, they would climb up the ladder to the top of these bowls with 10 gallons of oil and fill these lights and then set them alight. And that light was absolutely incredible. It filled the whole temple. And because the temple was on a hill in Jerusalem, it was visible for miles and miles around. Not everybody would have been able to bring their tents into the city of Jerusalem. They would have been camped around Jerusalem, and they would have seen that light. So it was really significant. Now, we read in chapter 7 that it was halfway through this festival that Jesus went up to Jerusalem and began to teach in the temple courts. The Jewish leaders at that time were highly critical of his teaching and were looking at ways to kill him. And there were some, in chapter 8, this isn't recorded necessarily in all of the versions of the Bible, but it has a story that's thought to be true, that they brought a woman who was caught in adultery to Jesus. And the law of Moses said if a lady was caught in adultery that she should be stoned. And they brought her in to try and trap Jesus. And he was kneeling on the ground and writing on the ground. And his words were, if anybody has not committed sin, let them be the first one to throw a stone. And little by little, all the people disappeared. And Jesus said to the woman caught in adultery, has anybody condemned you? Neither do I. Go and leave your life of sin. So he's done that. And then he makes this declaration. Now, the historians aren't quite certain. Did he make that statement actually while the lights were actually on? The lights were on for 7 days, and then the light went out on the last day, which was a very special day where they studied Scripture. They studied the law. And it might have been that Jesus actually, at that time, stood up and declared that he was the light of the world. What did Jesus actually mean by this? First of all, there is a light that is far more important than physical light. There is a spiritual light. So that's what he's referring to, a spiritual light. He's saying that he is the light that was in that pillar. The nation of Israel, the Jewish people were there, knew what the remembrance service was all about at that time. They knew it was about that light leading through the desert for the 40 years. He is saying, I am that light. I am the one who led you. I am the one that continues to lead you. Who's made a lighthouse so far? Can see a few being completed. That's brilliant. The lighthouse, there's some imagery in that actually we can relate also to Jesus in the statement. Here's a light. The light is rather like a lighthouse. A light warns of danger, the dangers we're living in without Jesus. We're eternally in the dark, lost and without hope. So first of all, a light warning of the danger. And secondly, it's like a beacon that leads us into safe harbor of Jesus and with him for all eternity. We can't survive without water, nor can we survive without light, without physical light. Nearly all of life is dependent on light, fueled by the power of the sun. And we go back to the creation story. Light was the first thing that God actually created because all of life was actually dependent upon it. We cannot survive without the light of Jesus. If we think back to what creation was like before light was there, It was dark, without form, void, empty, nothing but chaos and confusion. And our lives are a bit like that until Jesus shines his light into our lives. If we follow Jesus, he will guide us in the safe path through life and help us to see. And then we come to the second time that Jesus spoke and said, I am the light of life. This is in John 9, verses 1 to 7. As he went along, he saw a blind man from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. After saying this, he spat on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. He's already made that statement about light, and now he is saying it again. The Jewish leaders would have been there, and it annoyed them even more because he healed on the Sabbath. The leaders were spiritually blind. They could not recognize Jesus. It makes the point that blindness on that man wasn't the result of his sin, but it was the work so that God's work could be displayed. Most of us are not physically blind, but we are spiritually blind. We're walking in darkness until Jesus opens our spiritual eyes. And when he does so, when he opens our eyes, we begin to see God for who he truly is. His goodness, his truth, his love, his perfection, his holiness, his beauty. But it also, when God opens our eyes, we see the darkness of our sin that we often choose to walk in. Maybe it's our lies, maybe it's our selfishness or our jealousy or our bad temper. Maybe it's worse than that. But when God opens our eyes, the eyes of our hearts are opened, divine light comes flooding in, leading us in the ways of God. Now then, bit of fun. Tom has very courageously, with his arm twisted behind him, said that he's going to be a volunteer for this next bit. Oh, we've gone back to the start of the thing. Let me just go back to... That was, yeah. Right, now we're going to want some kids to come up to the front. Tom's going to be blindfolded. Can you see? No. No, that's good. Right, which other kids are going to come to the front and help Tom? Come on. You got my hand? Right. We have done a health risk assessment, so I think we're okay. Right. Come on, we want more than 2 other people to help. Tom, do you want more than 2 people to help you?
Yes.
Yes, come on. Maybe some adults to come help as well. Come on. Penny, thank you. Now then, Penny said when she came in, and they were like that, reserved for funeral, and wondered what the service was going to be about, so I've turned it that way round. Right, are we ready? Tom, will you come over here? That's it. Now then, kids, and Penny, are you a little kid for today? I want you to lead Tom around this obstacle course, and you can do it with whatever way you want. You can tell him or you can lead him, but he can't bang into any of these obstacles, okay? So how are you going to do it, kids?
Should we spread out and take his hand?
Give him a cheer. Right, Tom. Can't bang into any of the obstacles. Oh, that was close. Oh, is it? Look, let's just tie this a little bit further. There we are. You can't see, can you? No, that's brilliant. Nearly. Give him some instructions as well. Tell him which way to go. And come round to here. That's it. Right, so we're going to take this off. And I want you to walk around the obstacle course and see how, is it easier going around the obstacle course? Brilliant. Let's give Tom and all the helpers a round of applause. Brilliant. Thank you. Can you think what that blind man must have felt? He'd never been able to see, and God saw his need, and he wanted to reveal something very special. And he opened his eyes so that he could see. And we can see how difficult it was to negotiate all the obstacles. Very few places these days you can actually have total darkness. We're fortunate in Frogmore, there are places we have no street lights. And so at night time, it truly is very dark, except if the moon is shining. And some of the night skies are absolutely brilliant. But if we are in darkness, if it's pitch black, it's frightening, isn't it? I can remember as a kid being really frightened when it was pitch black. Disorientating, we easily stumble and fall. We could see so easily how Tom could have fallen there. But the wonderful truth is that when Jesus comes, he actually is the one that opens our eyes so we're no longer walking in darkness. We never have to walk in darkness again. Isn't it absurd that a dying man might reject a doctor? Or a starving person reject food? Or a drowning person refuse a lifeboat? Or a freezing person refuse a warm coat? Yet this is what happens with Jesus. Jesus is the light of the world, but people choose to continue to live in darkness, refusing his salvation and his offer of life for all eternity. So easily we can turn from that offer. Anybody know what this painting is? I think Chris, yes? Yes, lovely, thank you. It's displayed, well, it's not at the moment, but it's usually displayed in St. Paul's Cathedral. It's The Light of the World by William Holman Hunt. And it's the most viewed 20th century piece of art in the world. At one point, it was taken right round the world, but was bought and is now in St. Paul's Cathedral. And it depicts Jesus standing at the door and hoping that somebody will open it. Oops, we lost. Go back. Is that me, Bart? Sorry. Anyway, while Bart's getting it back, Revelation 3:20. Sorry for these technical things. Getting there. Oh, we must have lost a slide. Do apologize. Can we just go back, Bart? Can you take me through to the last slide again? Oh, right. Apologize. We made a mistake. There we are. Anyway, back to that. Revelation 3:20 says, "Here I am, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come and eat with that person and they with me." That's what the picture is depicting. Now, there's a really interesting story about this painting that why I've mentioned it this morning. It's where it stood. It was quite near one of the doors in St. Paul's Cathedral, and over time, part of the picture became quite mucky with the muck that was coming in from the roads, all the heavy traffic and so on, and they decided to clean the painting. So they took it out of circulation, they took it out of its frame to clean it. And they found, written by the artist, in the corner of the painting, the words, "Forgive me, Lord Jesus, that I kept you waiting at the door so long." William Holman Hunt knew about Jesus, but it was a long, long, long time before he actually invited Jesus into his life. That is now well understood, what he's actually written. So it's incredible that the painting depicts what actually happened to William Holman Hunt. But I wonder how many people, maybe some people here this morning, have heard the message about Jesus time and time again, and you've not yet made that message. You're holding out. Maybe like William Holman Hunt, need to say, today is the day I need to invite the Lord Jesus into my life. When we do give our lives to the Lord, the Bible also tells us that we are to be lights in the darkness. We are to reflect the light of Jesus. We are to reflect the light in the darkness that people are in all around, reflecting God's eternal light, helping others to see, warning them of the dangers, bringing them to safe harbor. I want to share a clip from the video. Do that now. Video of Limitless, just a 2-minute video. All the kids had their torches on with their lights. It was incredibly moving seeing all the kids with their lights, the torches shining. And for me, it was a little bit like a picture of each one of us as Christians, as believers, that we are to shine our light. One light by itself is powerful, but yet when all the lights come together, what an incredible thing it is. And each of us have been placed in different situations, in work, with our neighbors, with our family, where we are to shine that light into the darkness. Jesus is the light of the world. He is the only way to salvation. There is no other light. It is Jesus or darkness. You have a choice. You can't stand on the fence. It is Jesus and Jesus' life, his offer of salvation, or it is permanently living in darkness. Jesus wants to come amongst us and help us and lead us day by day through the difficulties that we're going to encounter and bring us back. 2 more songs to finish with, Waymaker and Shine Jesus to Shine. Okay, Bart, thank you. If you'd like to stand if you're able.